Welcome to the Can Wine Podcast, where we open cans of wine and talk about it. We are in Season 3, Episode 23, or 94, if you're counting from the very start. So this season we are serving you the world in a can, and we're off this week, or this episode, not necessarily a week, to Europe, to the Italian mountains, to be more exact. But first, our Wine Nerd Week word of the week is carbonation. And carbonation is what gives you bubbles in a wine. And it can happen two ways. They can be artificially carbonated with carbon dioxide put into the wine, or in some cases, like a champagne or a Prosecco, they may allow a secondary fermentation that allows the carbonation to take place in the bottle, or not in the can so much, but in the bottle. Most canned wines are artificially carbonated. That's just for simplicity's sake. Now, our can of the week is the 250 milliliter Archer Roose Bubbly, which if you're into point ratings, which some people say they're a big bunch of quacky, is a 91 points rating in the USA wine rating scale. It's, as we said, a 250 milliliter can with a 10.5% alcohol content. It's a fairly narrow can, as all the 250 mLs are. Well, actually, this one is 11% alcohol, so it varies, but this one is 11, this particular vintage. And it has a woman riding a very stylized moose on it. So if you're into that stuff, you can check out the Archer Roose website. They also have a QR code on the can that takes you there and gives you some of the background on that. So who is the winemaker? The winemaker is Stefano Nandi, and he is obviously in Italy. They use 100% Glera grapes, and this is the grape that's traditionally used to make Prosecco. In fact, there was a move to convert the Prosecco name to Glera so that it could be categorized as a production domain. And it comes out of Veneto, Italy, which is northeastern Italy, not far from Florence, but a little bit further back into the Dolomites. And this was a gold medal winner in the 2024 International Canned Wine Competition. So we're going to open it today and talk about it, as we already are. And I'm sure, given the gold medal status with them, it's probably going to be a very decent wine. Now, the wine is pressed, cold settled, and it's secondarily fermented in a sealed stainless steel tank using those Glera grapes. And it's closed so that it allows some of the carbonation to get in there. And this happens over 10 days, at which time it is bottled. Now, the Glera grape itself is a white skin grape, and it's of Italian Slovenian origin, probably originated in the Slovenian populated town of Prosecco, which is now part of Italy. And it's grown mainly in the Veneto region, and it's cultivated basically since Roman times. It's sort of an indigenous grape, and it's the 13th most important grape in Italy, and it's related through hybridization to a couple of sort of esoteric in Croceo Manzoni 2.15 and 2.14, which are crosses with various other grapes. And it's generally noted for its acidity, a very distinct acidity. So this comes out of the Treviso area, and that is, as we had said, if you can imagine where Venice is, it's just back up towards the mountains in that area. And the Treviso area is noted for its, in the fall when these things are maturing, or late summer, very hot days and cool nights, and that temperature change increases the aromatic properties of the grape. So that's a bit how the climate and the terroir can cause that. Generally, the soils there are clay to a little bit basic. So that's the scoop on that. And for me, it's that botany part of it that's real interesting with the grapes, and I guess that comes from my background in as a botanist. One of my instructors, Dr. Ron Jackson, did a lot of work and in fact wrote a few books on the various wine things, and I really enjoyed his viticulture courses and plant and microbial breeding. They were sort of a real foundation for me. So without any further ado, let's open this wine and we'll continue to talk about it. Well, that's a really nice pour and a lot of good pearlage, if you will. 11% is fairly strong. A lot of these Proseccos run in the 10 to 11%, and it's nicely carbonated. Now they say wild apple, whatever that means. Yeah, there's white fruits in there. Honey, maybe, and it's fairly aromatic. That's also impacted by the sparkling nature of it. And it's a fairly fine sparkle. Yeah, I can taste apple and honey in there. That's a nice wine, and that distinctive acidic taste, and it's a fairly dry wine, I would say. At any rate, I recently ordered a book by Ron Jackson. I didn't realize that he'd published that much on it, but in trolling around, I found one. So we'll be reading up on Ron Jackson and his professional wine tasting book. I'm excited to get that. Anyways, what do you pair it with? Well, you could pair it with prosciutto, salami, cheeses like brie or camembert, or even just some sushi or white pasta. The acidity really plays well with the fats in that. So our shout out for this week goes out to Ellen. Ellen, I know you like reds in particular, but this may be a good choice for you to celebrate a move or moving on to a new start. And we will have some sparkling reds coming up just shortly for anybody who's listening. So our head scratcher, last week's episode's head scratcher was the answer being Germany. Germany leads the EU in the production of non-alcohol wine production, and we will be tasting some, as we sort of teased you last week, that Einsweiss Zero Riesling. We have that coming up in a little bit too. So our head scratcher for this name, what name did the Glera grape previously was known by? Like there was a name change. Glera used to be known by a different name, and what was it? So you can listen back, and I did mention that, or you can look it up online. In closing, thank you for tuning into the Can Wine Podcast, where we open cans of wine and talk about it. Always remember to enjoy responsibly, and just because it comes in a can doesn't mean you can drink and drive. The Can Wine Podcast is a Center Stage production, all rights reserved.